What would you do if a strange man showed up at your door with forged papers demanding to take away two children who had just barely escaped his abuse? Would you trust the law or take justice into your own hands? This story begins on a stormy night when a soaking wet 11-year-old girl burst into a private clinic, cradling her unconscious little brother in her arms. She had no documents, no money, no one left in the world. Desperate, she screamed for help, only to be ignored by everyone in the room. Until a quiet, wealthy man in a tailored suit stepped forward and changed everything. But what started as an act of kindness soon unraveled into a dark web of lies, stolen identities, and a predator with a plan to sell the very children he once lived with. And just when you think they're safe, the boy vanishes from his bed in the middle of the night. This isn't just a story of survival. It's about courage, truth, and the kind of love that can rewrite a future. Stay with us because what happens next will shake you to the core. The rain came down in heavy sheets, soaking everything in sight and blurring the neon signs of the urgent care clinic just off the highway in Houston. A girl no older than 11 slammed into the glass doors, her arms trembling as she cradled a tiny feverish boy against her chest. Her hair clung to her face. Her dress was soaked through and muddy water dripped onto the pristine tile floor as she stumbled inside. "Please, someone help my little brother. He can't breathe." Lily Hartman's voice cracked raw from shouting in the storm. The boy in her arms, Noah, was barely conscious, his lips tinged blue, his body burning with fever. Behind the front desk, the receptionist barely looked up. "Do you have insurance?" I don't have anything, but he needs help now. He's dying. No documents, no treatment." The woman snapped her fingers, continuing to tap on her keyboard. "Take him to County General." "That's over an hour away," Lily cried. "He won't make it." The woman rolled her eyes. "Then you better get moving." Lily's legs shook beneath her. The polished floor was already puddled with the rain she brought in. Around her, the waiting patients looked on with silent disgust, shifting away as if she carried disease. Noah coughed a thin, wheezing sound, and his small body convulsed in her arms. The glass doors opened again, and a tall man stepped in, shaking out a black umbrella. He was dressed in an immaculate gray suit, his silver hair perfectly combed, and his shoes gleamed even under the harsh clinic lights. He looked like someone who belonged in a boardroom, not a storm. Without thinking, Lily ran to him. "Sir, please help me. He's my brother. He can't breathe." The man froze, eyes locking on her face, then dropping to the child in her arms. For a heartbeat, he said nothing. Then in a low voice, he asked, "What's wrong with him?" "He's had a fever for 3 days," she said desperately. "He stopped eating and now he can't breathe. Please." The receptionist rushed toward them. "Mr. Monroe, I'm so sorry about this. These children have no quiet," he said sharply, raising his hand. The room went still. "Call Dr. Lewis." "Now." "But Mr. Monroe, the clinic's policy." "This is my clinic," Edward Monroe said without raising his voice. "Do what I said." The woman blinked, then darted off, phone already to her ear. Edward turned to Lily. "What's your name, Lily?" "Lily Hartman. This is Noah. And your parents." Tears filled her eyes. "Our mom, she died 2 months ago. We don't know our dad." The doctor arrived moments later, breathless and confused, until Edward gave a single nod. "Take the boy. Immediately." The doctor hesitated. "We have no records, no insurance." "Are you a doctor or not?" Edward said. "There's a sick child. Do your job." Noah was lifted from Lily's arms. She reached out instinctively, but a nurse held her back. "We'll take care of him," the nurse said, her voice neutral. "You'll need to stay here." "But he's my brother," Lily protested. "Rules are rules." She was gently guided into a waiting chair. Her clothes clung to her skin, water still dripping onto the polished floor. She looked so small, so alone. Edward sat down beside her without a word. After a few silent minutes, he asked, "When was the last time you ate?" Lily looked up, startled. I don't remember." He gestured to the receptionist. "Get her something warm to eat, and a blanket." "Mr. Monroe, do I look like I'm joking?" The woman scurried away. Lily glanced sideways at him, confusion in her eyes. "Why are you helping us?" He met her gaze steadily. "Because it's the right thing to do." 30 minutes passed before the doctor returned, his face grim. "The boy has pneumonia. It's serious. But you brought him just in time. We'll need to keep him here for several days. Do whatever he needs, Edward said. And who's going to pay for this? I am. Lily stared at him, stunned. A complete stranger was saving her brother's life. Can I see him? He's sleeping, but yes. For a moment, Lily followed the nurse down the hall. Noah lay in the hospital bed, thin tubes running from his arms and nose. But he was breathing. She gently took his hand. You're safe now, Noah, she whispered. No one's going to hurt us anymore. Later that night, Lily fell asleep in a plastic chair by his bed. In the morning, a nurse offered her eggs and toast from the clinic's cafeteria. She hesitated, but her hunger won. It was the first warm meal she'd had in days. When she returned to the room, Edward was there, sitting quietly next to Noah's bed in jeans and a white shirt, so different from the businessman the night before. Good morning, he said. Thank you, Lily murmured. Noah woke up about an hour ago. He asked for you. The doctors say he's out of danger. She exhaled a breath she hadn't realized she was holding and walked over to gently touch her brother's forehead. Then Edward said something that made her stomach twist. We need to talk. I need to know what happened. Where you came from. She went rigid. I want to help you, Edward continued. But I need to understand the situation. Why, she asked, voice barely a whisper. Because I think you've been through something terrible, and you shouldn't have to carry it alone. He waited. Then she whispered, we lived with Derek. He was Mom's boyfriend. After she died, he changed. Edward noticed how her voice dropped every time she said his name. What did he do? He hit us, she said slowly. Said we were a burden, that he'd sell us if we didn't behave. Edward's jaw clenched. He said bad things. To me, touched me in ways I didn't like. He closed his eyes, rage swelling in his chest. And now he asked quietly. We ran away. He doesn't know where we are. A knock at the door. A nurse poked her head in. Sir, someone is asking for the children. Edward's eyes snapped toward her. Who? A man. Says his name is Derek Malone. Lily's face went white. Her plate clattered to the floor. Noah sat up, panic in his eyes. Lily, what's wrong? She whispered. It's him. I'm so sorry to pause here, but we'll have to continue this emotional journey in next part. What do you think Edward should do next? And if you were in Lily's shoes, would you trust him? Tell me where in the world you're watching from. I'd love to know. And if this story touched your heart, please tap the like button and share it with someone who believes in second chances. Edward Monroe stepped out into the hallway, his pulse quickening as he caught sight of the man standing at reception. Derek Malone was clean-shaven, wearing a cheap blazer that tried to mask the coldness in his eyes. He looked like a man who knew how to manipulate charm into menace. I'm here for my kids, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Lily and Noah. I'm their legal guardian. Edward didn't answer right away. He simply stared at the man, studying every gesture, every twitch. Derek pulled out a folded set of papers from his coat. Emily Hartman, their mother, she gave me custody before she passed. I have everything right here. Seals, signatures, all official. Edward took the documents without a word. They looked real. Too real. They're not going anywhere with you, he said finally. Voice calm but firm. Derek's expression darkened. They're my responsibility, and frankly, it's none of your business. You hit them. You threatened to sell them, Edward said, folding the papers slowly. I'd say it's very much my business now. Derek chuckled. Oh, so now you believe everything a scared little girl says. You don't think maybe she's confused? Traumatized kids make up stories all the time. Edward didn't blink. Noah has bruises on his ribs. Lily has old marks on her arms. That's not storytelling. That's evidence. Derek stepped forward. Listen, old man. You may have money, but I have the law. You took them without permission. That's kidnapping. Edward kept his tone cold and precise. And if those documents are fake, it's fraud. That's a felony. Are you sure you want to play this game? Derek's smile returned nastier this time. We can settle this, you know. No need to involve courts. Just give me what I came for, 40 grand cash. And I disappear. That was it, the truth slipping out like venom. He didn't want the children, he wanted leverage. Money. Edward's jaw tightened. I'll need time to get that amount, he said, holding Derek's stare. You've got 2 days, Derek replied. And don't try anything stupid. I've got people in this city. You hide them, I'll find them. And then he left like a serpent slithering back into the weeds. Edward returned to Lily and Noah. The children were trembling behind the kitchen door, having heard every word. Lily was white as a sheet. Noah clung to her arm like a lifeline. He's not taking us, Edward said. I promise you that. Lily's eyes glistened. He has papers. They won't hold in court, Edward said gently. Not if we prove the truth. That night, Edward called his longtime attorney, Richard Owens, and laid it all out. I need to prove these custody documents are fake, and I need it fast. You'll also need a private investigator, Richard replied. Someone who can dig deep, quietly. By morning, Jack Turner had arrived at Edward's home. A grizzled ex-cop with a keen eye for deception, he went over the documents with a jeweler's loupe. These seals are real, Jack muttered. But the dates aren't. According to this, Emily Hartman signed these on March 15th. You said she died on March 10th. Edward leaned forward. That's our crack, Jack nodded. And we're going to blow it wide open. But before the day ended, something far worse happened. Lily woke up screaming. Noah's bed was empty. A crumpled note lay on the pillow. 8 p.m. tonight. 245 Industrial Street. No cops. Bring the money, or he disappears forever. Panic erupted like wildfire. How did he get in? Lily cried, her voice breaking. I didn't hear anything. Edward ran to the window. The latch had been forced open from the outside. Derek had broken in while they slept. Edward immediately called Jack, who arrived within minutes with a grim-faced man named Captain Harris from the Houston Police Department. We don't have much time, the captain said. This man is dangerous, and he's not working alone. That warehouse is a known spot for illegal deals. Then we go in now, Edward snapped. We don't wait. If we go too early and he feels cornered, Harris warned he might hurt the boy. We need to wait until he's distracted. Then we strike. At 8 p.m., sharp Edward stood at the entrance to a rotting warehouse, holding a duffel bag stuffed with decoy bills. Inside, the stench of mold and metal hung heavy in the air. Derek emerged from the shadows, eyes bloodshot and hand gripping a pistol. You bring my money, I want to see the boy. Money first. Edward didn't flinch. Noah. Now. Derek waved him forward. As Edward stepped inside, he saw Noah tied to a chair in the corner, a strip of tape across his mouth, his face bruised and wet with tears. Edward's breath hitched. There's your kid, Derek said. Now hand it over. Edward tossed the bag. Derek opened it, greed gleaming in his eyes. You know, he sneered, I never planned to let you leave. You saw too much. One of Derek's men raised a weapon, but at that exact second, the warehouse lights cut out. Shouting, gunshots. Police stormed the room in full gear. Edward lunged for Noah, cutting the ropes with a pocket knife as chaos erupted around them. He pulled the boy into his arms and whispered, I've got you. You're safe. When the lights came back, 2 of Derek's men were in handcuffs. But Derek was gone. He escaped through the rear, a cop said. We're sweeping the area. Edward carried Noah out of the warehouse. The boy, shaking in his arms, looked up and whispered hoarsely, Dad, I thought you wouldn't come. Edward's voice broke as he said, I will always come for you. I'm sorry to interrupt the story here, but what do you think will happen if Derek isn't caught? And if you were Edward, would you be able to forgive yourself for not stopping him sooner? Tell me what country you're watching from. We'd love to hear where this story is reaching hearts. If this moved you, please give it a like and share it to help spread awareness about the power of second chances. Derek Malone was captured 2 hours later, trying to slip out of town in a stolen pickup, too drunk to run and too reckless to hide. When they cuffed him, he didn't fight. He just laughed, a bitter, broken sound like a man who had already lost everything. Back at the hospital, Noah was treated for bruises and dehydration. Lily refused to leave his bedside for a second. Edward stood by the door, watching them, shoulders, heavy heart pounding, with guilt. He had promised to protect them. He had failed for one terrifying night, but somehow they had survived it together. 3 days later, the courtroom was packed. Reporters crowded the hallway. The headlines had already started to spread. Businessman rescues siblings from alleged child trafficker. Edward hated the attention, but he knew it was necessary. Justice needed light. Derek sat at the defendant's table, freshly shaven, wearing a cheap suit that couldn't mask the rot beneath. His eyes scanned the courtroom, stopping on Lily and Noah. Lily flinched. Edward reached over and held her hand. The charges read like a nightmare: child abuse, kidnapping, forgery, identity theft, and murder. The murder charge hit hardest. Derek had cut the brakes on Emily Hartman's motorcycle, causing the crash that left Lily and Noah orphans. The evidence was overwhelming. The forged documents, the stolen bank funds, the audio recording from the warehouse where he'd confessed everything. But it was Lily's testimony that struck like lightning through the courtroom. She took the stand with Dr. Miranda by her side. Her voice trembled at first, but then it found strength. He used to say we were nothing, she told the judge. That nobody would care if we disappeared. That we were just numbers, not people. But we are people. My brother is 5. He loves peanut butter and dinosaurs. I love reading. My mom used to say we were her whole world. She looked straight at Derek. You took her from us, but you didn't break us. When she stepped down, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even the judge had to pause before speaking. The verdict came quickly. Guilty on all counts. Sentenced life in prison with no chance of parole. When it was over, Edward knelt in front of Lily and Noah outside the courthouse. You're safe now, he said softly. No more hiding. No more running. Lily looked at him, eyes wide. Are you still going to keep us? Edward smiled, tears in his eyes. If you'll let me. They both leapt into his arms. Months passed. The chaos faded. What remained was something real, something Lily and Noah had never truly known before. Home. Edward converted his mansion into a shelter for children like them. They named it Hartman House in memory of Emily. It wasn't just a home, it was a sanctuary. Warm meals, clean beds, laughter echoing down the halls. A place where kids were safe to be kids again. 5 years later, Hartman House had grown from a single home in Houston to a network of centers in cities across the country. New York, Denver, Portland, Atlanta. Children came in scared and scarred, but they left stronger, smiling. Lily, now 17, stood at the podium of an international conference on child protection. Her voice was steady, confident. When I was 11, I begged a stranger in a clinic to save my brother, she told the crowd. What I didn't know was that he'd end up saving both of us and that we'd end up saving each other. That stranger became our dad. That fear became purpose. Back home, Noah, now tall, lively, and always with a dog or two at his heels, ran the therapy program at Hartman House. Animals, he discovered, had a way of healing the most broken hearts. One winter evening, the three of them, Edward, Lily, and Noah, stood outside the original house, now renovated and bustling with staff and volunteers. Snow drifted through the air. Children's laughter came from inside. Do you remember the night it all started? Edward asked softly. The rain, the clinic, the glass doors. Lily nodded. I remember everything. I still hear your voice, Edward said, his throat tightening. Sir, please save my little brother. She smiled. You did. He looked at both of them. I thought I was saving you, but the truth is, you saved me. As the lights of Hartman House glowed behind them, it was clear this wasn't just the end of a story. It was the beginning of a legacy. Now I must pause the story here, and I hope you'll forgive the interruption. Let me ask you this. If you were in Lily's place, would you ever learn to trust again? And if you were, Edward, would you have opened your home the same way? What do you think of this story overall? Comment number 3 below if you loved it, number 1 if you felt it missed something, and number 2 if it was just okay. Also, where in the world are you watching from? We'd love to hear. And if this story touched your heart, please send some love and share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances.